Hey everyone, it's Carissa. Welcome to Satur-YAY, where we're celebrating the weekend by getting our craft on. And today I'm going to be sharing some tips for blending with the Zig Art and Graphic Twin markers. These water-based markers are great for lots of techniques. And I'm going to be using the new Arctic Pals stamp and die set. I love these little images here. And the thing that really makes the stamp set is all the fun sentiments that go with it. And I just love that iceberg. And of course, I'll be using the coordinating dies as well. Now, to coordinate with the very Arctic, wintry, frozen theme of the January Essentials by Ellen release, the Frozen bundle was also released, and I'm just going to show you some of the items, or actually all of the items, that are included in that bundle. You have a couple of different kinds of sequins here. I love these little pom-poms. I am going to be using these in one of my projects today. They make the best snowballs. And also you're going to get some silver foil and some vellum envelopes. I have my silver foil stored in one of these project ticket holders. I just find it's easiest for me to store that flat. These vellum envelopes are kind of fun to mail your projects in because people can see through the vellum and see your card project inside. And yes, you can send them through the mail. Now, along with all of those fun products, you're also going to get several kind of embellishment mediums here. A couple of embossing powders from WOW. You're also going to get the liquid applique, which will give you a really puffy, kind of snowy look for your projects. Some Tonic Nouveau Moonstone Glimmer Paste. This is one of my favorite products ever. You're going to get some stickles to add that kind of sparkly, icy effect to all of your projects. Some micro beads from Judykins. These are super tiny micro beads. I mean, they're like micro beads. And some Rebecca Meyer medium that you can use for foiling techniques, and you can use it as an adhesive as well. So now that I've walked you through that bundle and some of the products that I'm going to be using today, I'm going to get started on my projects. Now, I have a bunch of the critters from the Arctic Pals stamp set here, and I'm just arranging them on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm going to be stamping on Bristol Smooth today because I am going to be using the Zig Art and Graphic Twin markers. Now, these water-based markers are best on this Bristol Smooth paper because it kind of has a coating that allows the ink to kind of blend over the surface much easier than what you'll get with something like a Neenah Solar White. So I am using my Mini Misty to stamp a bunch of these at once. I'm using the Hero Arts Intense Black ink. This is a permanent ink. It will dry permanent. And I don't want any smudging. So that's why I use this Hero Arts black ink. Now you can also use something like VersaFine. Just make sure you heat set it before you go in. So now that all my images are stamped, we're going to start blending. Now, I'm using two colors on this iceberg here. I'm using a haze blue, and I'm also using the turquoise green. And I've just gone in with a little bit of the darker color right over the lighter color, and then I blended it out with the lighter color once again. And I will also hit that with my blender pen. Now for the little polar bears, I am using just some gray-green or green-gray. I'm not real sure. I will have all of the specific colors listed for you over at the Classroom blog, so be sure to check that out. And I'm just adding it in the areas where I want my shadow to be, and then blending it out with my colorless blender. This colorless blender is fabulous for blending. You just want to make sure you can see me scribbling off over on that piece of paper there. I'm scribbling all the ink of the color that I used before. So key to using these markers, you can blend them out with the blender pen. You can blend them out with a water brush. That's going to give you more of a watercolor look. You can also blend them out with a sparkle pen. And you can see that I actually just used my blender pen to touch the tip of that yellow marker there and add a little bit of yellow to the belly of my penguins. Now that all of my images are colored, I'm just going to use the coordinating dies to cut them out. And I'm not going to be using all of these images in my projects today, but as long as I was coloring, it's just easy to color extras and keep them with the stamp set. And the next time I need to make a really quick card, I have a couple of images colored already. Now you can see I've got really nice blending on these, and that is thanks to the Bristol Smooth paper. If I were to do this on some Neenah Solar White, I would not get the results that I get on the Bristol Smooth paper. So it's really important that you're using the right type of paper for the type of markers that you're using. Now I'm going to show you another technique here with these Zig Art and Graphic Twins. I had something on my brush. I don't know what I'm doing. But I have a little bit of watercolor cardstock here, and I'm taking my aqua brush and squeezing out a bunch of water and kind of making a puddle of water on top of this watercolor cardstock. Then I'm going to take 2 different colors of pink markers and just kind of pounce them around in that water, and then I'll use my water brush to blend it out even more. Now, in the areas where it's a little lighter than I want it to be, I'm going to go back in with my markers and add more color to that. Remember, this watercolor is going to dry back a little bit lighter than what I'm actually seeing right now, so I want to make sure I have plenty of color down. Now, putting your marker tip into the water will not hurt it at all. These tips on these brush ends are actually like a rubber tip, and it's not going to destroy your marker tip, and it's not going to ruin the ink that's inside. So now that I have my background done, I went ahead and hit it with my heat tool, and now I'm adding some of that Wow Puff embossing powder right along the bottom. I just used my Versamark pen to apply that, and then I'm heat setting it for a little snowy kind of grounding place for my images. When I heat set this embossing powder, it gets lots of dimension, but I wanted a little bit more, so I'm taking my Versamark pen once again. I'm adding a little more ink on top of that area. I'm going to add another layer of embossing powder in that area and then heat set it. This is just giving something for my polar bears to stand on so they don't look like they're floating in midair, and it's helping me build this scene all together. So when I'm done, I'm going to have this really cool kind of Arctic scene that all kind of works together. I'm going to build this up not only with the backdrop that I've created, but with some sequins and some of those embellishments that are included in the Frozen bundle. So I've already kind of arranged my polar bears, and now I'm just using the foam adhesive on the back to apply them to my card front. And now I'm going to work on a sentiment for my card. Now, I'm actually doing sentiments for both cards today at the same time. So what I've done is prepped both ends of my black cardstock. I've stamped 2 different images, one on each end, added my white embossing powder, and then heat set that. And then I took it over to my trimmer and trimmed it down. So I have my Happy Birthday sentiment for this card here. And I also have my Have a Nice Day sentiment for my next card, which I'm making here. And for that polar bear card, I just finished it off with some of those pom-poms and some sequins, and I have an adorable scene. Now for my next card, I'm actually stamping the iceberg image right on the card front, and then I'm adding some little waves around it with some Altenew Mountain Mist ink, and I've kind of double stamped and triple stamped some of those images. And here's where I'm going to bring in some of those Art and Graphic twin markers again. I just have the colorless blender here, and I'm using it to pick up a little bit of ink directly from that ink pad and adding a little bit of shading to the iceberg that I stamped there. Once again, adding those waves and that sort of thing is going to help build up my scene and help it kind of ground the image that I'm placing on top, which is that little narwhal there. Now, I thought this could use some pink hearts, and I didn't have any cardstock, but I had my Copic markers out. So I'm just blending a couple of colors of pink Copic marker onto some Neenah Solar White cardstock, and then I'm going to take it over to my die cut machine and die cut some hearts right out of that cardstock that I created with my markers. And you can see I can just arrange these with my sentiment there along that right edge. I added a couple of little hearts, and that larger heart I added on with some foam adhesive, so I have varying dimensions on this card as well. And I'm going to finish all of these off by adding just a little bit of sparkle pen to my narwhal and my hearts, and I added some black and white baker's twine along the top of that, and I also added a few sparkling clear sequins just for a little bit of extra sparkle. So there you have it, a couple of cards featuring the Arctic Pals stamp set from the Essentials by Ellen line and the Zig Art and Graphic Twins. I think that these markers are so easy to work with as long as you're using the right paper, and I think that is very key. You can see I accomplished all kinds of looks, watercolor, a soft blended effect just by using these markers, and in many cases, I just use one color of marker for each image, which makes blending and coloring with these really fast and easy. As always, I will have links to the featured supplies in the description at YouTube, but head on over to the Coordinating Classroom blog post. I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies over there for you. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed these projects and this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy Satur-YAY, and I hope you have a fabulous day.